I think it was safe to assume that the Miami Dolphins before the 2019 NFL draft had probably the weakest roster on paper. And that's why the Dolphins had a lot of work in front of them when it came to the 2019 draft. But overall, I felt like they took the first step in a long road of rebuilding. And I really do think that this Brian Flores stamp has really been on this draft. And I think Dolphins fans don't want to hear this, but this was about as patriot of a draft as you can possibly get. So, Gronks, like that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's Mitch here of The Bottom Line View, here to give you my analysis, my draft grade for the Miami Dolphins 2019 NFL Draft. Now, the Dolphins, they wanted to address a few positions, and they really wanted to address the offensive line, the defensive line, the line of scrimmage in general. They wanted to get tougher. They wanted to bring a new identity to this team, and that is really showcased in their picks, as well as their big trade of Josh Rosen. They obviously needed to address the quarterback position. Some thought that maybe in the first round. Some thought they wouldn't pick a quarterback in the first round and completely wait till next year and completely tank altogether. Tank for Tua, so to speak. But the Dolphins instead, first I want to address this, is Josh Rosen, the trade that they made in the second round. Now, Josh Rosen, while I think there are some negatives about him, I do not like from a football standpoint his mobility, and overall he has shown that he doesn't really have that quarterback-like confidence that you would like within the pocket as a leader. Just the personality altogether just kind of seems a little bit off to me. Now, I don't know him personally, but it just seems like he, from this whole Arizona situation, has taken a big hit in terms of confidence, in terms of just feeling like he belongs as an NFL quarterback. Now, hopefully he's learning from this situation. Hopefully he's gotten better from this situation. And hopefully he can take that experience from Arizona into Miami and improve upon it. But it's really up to the person, Josh Rosen, more so than even the football player, Josh Rosen, to prove that he can do this in Miami. Now, don't expect Josh Rosen to come in and win the Dolphins a lot of games, because that's not going to happen. There are probably only like 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the entire NFL that would take the Dolphins to at least a winning record so the Dolphins are not a very talented team, as I said. So don't expect a ton from Josh Rosen. But what does Josh Rosen give you in terms of a quarterback that is positive? Well, I think he does fit the Chad O'Shea system, which is what they ideally wanted, because they're bringing this Patriot-like offense to the Miami Dolphins now under Chad O'Shea, who is a receivers coach for the Patriots. And Josh Rosen, he can make the throws. He's accurate, especially underneath intermediate range. He's smart. I think he can see the field well. Now, he just needs to be able to kind of experience the NFL a little bit more. Like his first season, he was really rough. The offensive line couldn't block for him. And I just think altogether it wasn't a good experience for him. But if he can start to gain some confidence under center, I think he can be a pretty decent quarterback. I'm not going to ever say he'll be great, but I think he can be an NFL starting quarterback that's capable enough to win you games. So that being said, I do like the trade by the Dolphins, because overall you have a guy that had first round potential. He was picked in the first round, a top 10 pick nonetheless, and now he's traded for a second round pick. So that's a ton of value, just if you're looking at it from that standpoint. Take away what he did from Arizona, strip everything away. Just look at the football player, look at what they got, and where he was drafted just one season ago. A team already gave up on him, and you were able to jump on that situation and potentially get a franchise quarterback. It's worth taking that second round trade of a risk just to get Josh Rosen. Really, that's not a lot of risk. I would do that almost every single time if I'm a team like Miami. Why not take a chance? If you do end up in the top 3 and your team sucks and Rosen looks like he sucks and you don't really think he's going to be the guy going forward, well, oh well. Maybe you pick another quarterback in the top 3 next year, the top 5 next year, or potentially first overall, and you just move on. But with a second round pick only, I think it's totally worth the risk, and hopefully he can prove you wrong and be a guy that can be your quarterback for many years to come. So that now that that's out of the way, now that Josh Rosen's out of the way, by the way, comment below your thoughts on Josh Rosen. Do you think he'll work out? Do you not think he'll work out? Do you think he sucks? Do you think he's going to be good? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's get into their actual draft. So in the first round, they picked a guy that I think establishes what they want. They want an identity of winning. They want an identity of toughness, and they just want good overall people in their locker room. And that's what Christian Wilkins brings. He's an amazing personality, but he's also an amazing football player. He is big enough to be a stud nose tackle against the run, but he's also quick enough in the pass rushing part of the game where he can be a very good pass rusher as well. The Dolphins have been searching for a guy to replace Ndamukong Suh, and they have that now in Christian Wilkins. He fits the Brian Flores defense perfectly, and he gives them that identity up front in their defense. Again, a winning player to establish a winning culture. Round number 3, Michael Dieter of Wisconsin. Again, improving toughness on the offensive line. In terms of Dieter is concerned, I really think that he's going to be an interior player. He's going to probably play guard where he was drafted as out of Wisconsin. And I think he could immediately contribute and probably even start his first season being taken in the 3rd round. Now, the Dolphins overall don't have a great offensive line. So this was a need pick and possibly a guy that can help protect Josh Rosen for the future. In the 5th round, they go with Andrew Van Ginkel of Wisconsin, outside linebacker. The Dolphins badly need some pass rushers. Van Ginkel has a chance to eventually be a situational role player off the edge as a pass rusher. I think the thing that I like about him is that he can kind of do a lot of different things in terms of his just personality, in terms of his athleticism. He doesn't have like any traits that are gonna jump off the page. He's not like super athletic or anything, but I think he could help in the rotation and just add another player, and he fits what Brian Flores wants at the linebacker position, and again is a guy that is going to fit the type of personality, the type of guy that you want in your locker room. In the 6th round, they take Isaiah Prince, offensive tackle of Ohio State. This is another offensive line, defensive line pick, another big guy to add to your line. And again, this is another guy that you could develop into being a starting player potentially. Looking at the right tackle position, they lost James in the offseason, so I feel like the only real guy that they have that's like a for sure stud for the future is Laramie Tunsil. Outside of that, they don't really have any answers on the offensive line. So all positions are up in the air, including picking Isaiah Price here in the 6th round. In the 7th round, they picked a fullback, Chandler Cox. This is probably the most New England Dolphins pick you'll ever see in your life, okay? So Chandler Cox of Auburn is a fullback, and the fullback is alive in the NFL, and it is well. If you guys look at the best offenses in the NFL, in terms of schemes and scheme variation, you will see that fullback is a very important position for those schemes. Chad O'Shea loves using the fullback, and the Patriot system loves using the fullback. Just look at how they use James Devlin, and Chandler Cox will be a big part of their offense, I think, from day one. They're going to utilize him as a guy that splits out wide as a receiver. They're going to utilize him as a pure run blocker straight ahead. They're going to give him the football on occasion on the short yardage, and they're going to utilize the fullback because of those scheme variation, because of the formation variation that they can use him in. Myles Gaskin of Washington is just another late round running back pick. Again, establishing the run, establishing the big guys on this football team, and just another backup that they can add to the mix. They have Kenyon Drake, they have Balaj, now they have Gaskin as well. So just adding another backup to the mix, and the Dolphins were kind of weak in that spot in terms of backup running backs. So overall, this is not a sexy draft, but this is an effective draft in establishing an identity for the future of their new head coach, their new offensive coordinator, and the new Dolphins. I like this draft. I am going to give it a B+ overall for the Dolphins. Actually, let's bump it up to an A- because All right, you know what? An A. Let's just give them an A because they did get Josh Rosen in basically the second round. They got Christian Wilkins, who I felt perfectly fit their system. They got a fullback, which is awesome. Okay, they addressed their offensive line, which they needed to. Sure, could they have used more picks? Yes, but they didn't have them. So overall, I'm going to give them an A because I really think that the Dolphins, they went out there and they established a game plan that they wanted to really complete. And I think they did that. So why wouldn't I give them an A? All right, Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment below your opinion on this Dolphins draft. Do you love it like me or do you hate it? It's Mitch of TheBottomLineView. Peace.